Hey, how's everybody doing today? This is Mark Brody with Brohawk Solutions, and I am humbled and honored to be speaking with Amy Smith of Challenger Inc. Today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about um, coaching, talent development, and things like that today. But before we get started, first of all, Amy, thank you very much for joining me today, and tell the folks watching this episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk a little bit about yourself, what you do with Challenger, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. I am a senior director of client success on Challenger's Effortless Experience team. And the Effortless Experience is our suite of training and development products that's geared towards the customer service organization.
Hmm.
Um, so basically, I work with our clients to change their customer service approach to be very much focused on delivering low effort service. And that's all based off of the research and the concepts that we outline in our book, The Effortless Experience.
So, tell me a little bit, real quick, before we get started. Where did Challenger start? What are its origins, and how has it evolved over the years?
Yep. So we used to be CEB, or the Corporate Executive Board. In 2017, we were acquired by Gartner. Gartner is a research and advisory firm. I'm sure many people are familiar with it. And we are very much focused on implementation services. So taking that research as kind of the base of what the implementation services would be. So we spun off from Gartner and became Challenger Inc.
So basically, taking the concepts that are discussed in the book and creating an executionable roadmap. I don't know if that's really a word, but we're just going to go with it today. But basically, an execution roadmap for companies to go ahead and bring in the best habits.
Yeah, and it kind of was born out of a lot of clients back when we were CEB saying the book is great. It's got a lot of do-it-yourself techniques, but we can't do it ourselves, and we're not, or we're trying and we're not doing it well.
Okay.
Uh, and so we took some of our learning and development leadership councils best practices and developed some training programs, um, as well as information from our communications leadership council on and strategy councils on how to implement a real successful change initiative
Okay.
um, through sustainability.
Excellent. Excellent. So, what do you see as the biggest challenges organizations are going to be facing as a result of a larger work from home and hybrid presence than what they did 2 years ago? How what are some of the challenges that you're seeing?
Yep. Well, I just mentioned that we're very much focused on change management, and change management is just hard in this environment in particular.
Hmm.
This is really about culture change and not just a training program. So one of my favorite clients and earliest clients said to me that they didn't realize until they were working with us that they didn't have a customer service strategy. And now their customer service strategy is low effort. It's this lens they put on everything that they do, customer facing. So it's how they actually interact with customers, but also how they coach their
Hmm.
line, how they QA, it's how they measure. Um, and that's the ultimate goal that we're going for here. It's not to just do a flavor of the month training program,
Hmm.
but you're talking about that culture change. So much of it comes from visibility in the office, and that visibility from leadership. It's also social proof from your peers, um,
Hmm.
and that's harder when you're not in brick or mortar. So we're very much focused on how to ensure that we're kind of drilling in the importance of that, and flexing to that work from home environment. It's
Excellent.
not, it can't happen by any means. It just requires a very different level of intentionality from leadership.
I love that word intentionality, um, because anytime you're going into a coaching development culture change type of project, you have to be very intentional, I think, about it. And there has to be the purpose to making the change. Otherwise, like you said before, you don't want to be that flavor of the month.
Mhm.
Um, your teams will typically see right through that, and they'll be like, okay, we'll wait this one out and see what's going on next month too.
Yep. Definitely.
Excellent. So, why should performance coaching be high on the skills development list? I know people talk a lot about soft skills, being able to, have a conversation with customers with empathy and understanding their situation, and all that is important. But why should performance coaching specifically be high on the skills development list?
Yep. Um, so many reasons, and I'm really passionate about this topic. I know you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the biggest reason is it's going to be the top driver of rep performance, and the research shows that. A lot of service organizations might think that they need to go out and they need to recruit differently um,
Mm-hmm.
to get high performers, or they need to train differently to get high performers, or they need to pay more to retain high performers and not have the inconsistency of any, uh, the new hire swing that's coming through.
Yes.
So, coaching, having managers who provide really great coaching is going to be way more effective that and frankly cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also really like to point out that supervisors are the most underinvested in role at the contact center. So we definitely reward those high performing reps and promote them, and we should. But expecting those reps to be good people managers, it just sometimes doesn't happen. And we need to
Mm-hmm.
give them that skill set to be a good coach and not just necessarily to be a good performance manager or a good mentor. Um, and hopefully they had good coaches and they learned from those, but that's not
Right.
always.
Yeah, you talk to enough organizations and um, you work with enough companies and you can really just walk in and tell, and the culture is very evident when you walk into an organization that they that coaching isn't a priority for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's one of those checklists. Okay, did I do my one on one with somebody today? Yep. Okay, great. Next, I'll just go ahead and get into my 40 hours of meetings this week. Um,
Well, and to that point, I mean, for one, the research also shows that poor coaching is going to harm performance
mm-hmm.
2 times as much as good coaching is going to help. So if you're not a good coach and you have 18 direct reports, you're better not coaching at all.
Yeah.
Point one. Point two, I think a lot of the other activities that these supervisors are doing, they think is coaching. They
Mm-hmm.
think like, I just need to have a one-on-one and go over the stats for the month, and that's coaching. And somewhere along the way, we all kind of forgot what a good coach is from like 6-year-old soccer days.
Yep.
And that it really is about having those integrated coaching moments. That's what our framework is all about, is integrated coaching. And not that you shouldn't have those scheduled coaching interactions, but they serve a much different purpose. They're about aligning on what you want development opportunities to be. Um, and then integrated coaching is much more of that on the job learning.
I think one of the words that you've used, and we've talked a lot, over this past year, Amy. But one of the words that you've used is being very deliberate about why you're coaching, um, and what the purpose of that coaching session or that coaching process really looks like. Um, how has coaching and development really evolved over the past year or so? Do you see companies, really turning to organizations like Challenger to help them be a lot more deliberate and intentional in their coaching and development?
Um, so I think the last 18 months have been really hard on coaching in
Mm-hmm.
general. Um, I think there was obviously that afternoon where people were just packing up whatever hardware was given, and heading out. And for the first few months, we were kind of all floating on this high of it's going better than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're 18 months in, and some of the shifts that needed to happen probably didn't. And, obviously some groups are now fortunate enough to be going back into the office. And a lot of groups are saying, well, we're actually going to continue with a work from home presence for the foreseeable future so we can expand our talent, and go beyond just the region that we're in, which is great. But as you're making those shifts, you really do need to be thinking about how do you make coaching and coaching accountability from that leadership level transform to fit this environment. And I think there was probably a lot of, the ideal would be coaches would say, nothing really has to change,
Mm-hmm.
except that my integrated coaching probably now needs to be scheduled. And as we were talking about with being deliberate and intentional, a lot of that is being transparent with your direct reports. And we
Mm-hmm.
advocate for a ton of transparency in coaching conversations. So that you can essentially say, hey, Mark, we're going to have an integrated coaching session at 2:30. So what I'd like to do is sidejack a few of your calls, so that I can give you any guidance on your next interactions. And sorry, it doesn't need to be calls, any type of interaction that you're having with a
Mm-hmm.
customer. Um, but I'm going to sidejack with you, observe what's happening, give you some guidance, so that we can talk about those development opportunities that we've agreed to work on. And that's a key point. Coaching is not coaching to everything that you see. That's just feedback.
Yes.
Coaching is about honing in on a few things that you want to move the needle on. Otherwise, coaching becomes extremely negative. And frankly, I shouldn't use the term coaching because in my opinion, that's not coaching.
I as we were talking, I was thinking to myself, um, how many things should an integrated coaching opportunity or session really focus on? And you hit on it. It doesn't need to be that laundry list of things that, well, I would have liked to have seen you do X, Y, and Z better, and next time really focus on A, B, C, and all the way down through W, um, because then you've confused the person that you're coaching and trying to develop, and they're trying to boil the ocean, and it just doesn't
Yep.
work. It just doesn't work. So, what are some of the success stories that you've seen when it comes to really great coaching?
It's interesting because we've seen a lot of them, and I think the cool thing here is that coaching is tough to measure. And so I think coaching accountability can be difficult,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because all of those other more measurable things are things that get focused on in the contact center. And we love our metrics in the context.
Yes.
But one thing I didn't mention earlier, and shame on me, is that coaching can have a really profound impact on regretted attrition. Um, so specifically, having a good coach on your team is going to be more beneficial to retain reps than pay relative to market rate. So if
Yes.
you have a contact center down the road that might be paying a little bit more, um, a rep is less likely to frankly open up their resume and update it if they feel like they are working with a good coach being developed, um, because frankly changing jobs is hard work. uh, and everyone wants to feel like they have that job opportunity that comes with being developed. So where we've seen really great success stories is those attrition numbers. And we always advise our clients to take a baseline on what their regretted attrition is, and then look at it after our programs. And so um, we've seen attrition numbers go down from like 10 to 40%. And 40% is like crazy. I would never promise that to a prospect, but we've
Mm-hmm.
seen it in situations where there's been a really profound attrition issue. And attrition is incredibly measurable. We know that the average cost of attrition, Gartner just came out with a new number a few months ago, that's just over 14,000 per rep attriting
Wow.
from the company. So if you can easily multiply that out, like what a great news story for a non-revenue generating part of the organization to tell the CFO that, you know,
Mhm.
we decided to focus on coaching and we were able to kind of stop this attrition bleeding that we all are facing so much more right now in 2021.
Amy, it's interesting, and just to add some support to that, how great coaching and having great coaches can really help attrition. In my past life, I worked for an organization, and this line of business, we were able to have 0% turnover for 3 consecutive years. Now I tell people that, and they're just like, "What the heck were you doing?"
Well, what a
And
power team you must have had.
well, I had a very, very, very talented manager that reported under me, and I think it's important for senior leaders, directors and above, when you have that power person, let them go, and they will raise the level of performance just by how they interact, and it doesn't become a conversation solely about numbers. It's about the person, and it's about what a person's goal is. And one of the interesting things that she was able to do, just by me sitting back and saying, "Hey, you know what? Do what comes natural." You know, three out of the first 7 people we had on the team ended up going back and working on their degree, because it was that was the type of coaching and development that she saw, and we had several people that got job offers, not just in other parts of the company, but and for other organizations, and they said, "Look, the grass is just not greener. We're not going to get the type of attention and development anywhere else, but working here." And it's a true testament to her. But I felt fortunate enough um, to to have the foresight to just say, "Go forth and do great things, and I trust you. And if you have an obstacle, let me help you clear it. Let me help you clear it." And it's
Yep.
with that whole integrated coaching model that we didn't realize we were doing, and it's a testament to the model. It works.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great model for the contact center. It's obviously the ideal model for the contact center, but
Yep.
we use it on our team. I mean, it's a great coaching model for
Hmm.
any type of coaching that you do.
Yeah. So I
We've
mean,
got a few clients who have moved that to other back office functions in addition to the contact center, which is just such a great story.
obviously the contact center has the typically the most exposure to external customers. I mean, you want them to be your brand ambassadors. You want them to be your cheerleaders, um, and really, focusing on the benefits of doing business with your organization. And if your coaching isn't doing that, you have an NPS problem. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, what a place where you need to focus on it, because again, you're dealing with supervisors who might have 18 to 20 direct reports, and if they're
yep.
just using that time with their direct reports to go over a dashboard on metrics,
Hmm.
you know, we always say that we use a lot of sports analogies. We always say that that's about as effective as a pitcher being told by their coach, like, just throw 'em a strike. Uh, and frankly, you know, a rep can read a dashboard by themselves and see an
Yep.
update on their number. So, you know, time is not readily available in contact centers. So don't waste it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. My sons, when they were in high school, the coach would come out to the mound and say, "Just throw strikes." Okay, sounds good, and they tell me after the game that they would just be laughing. It's like, okay, do you think I'm trying? Seriously. Uh, well, hey, this has been a great session, Amy. I learn more and more every time you and I speak, and I appreciate it. But I also want to be a good steward of your time as well. So let's get to the speed round. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Excellent. So first question, what fact about Amy would people be surprised to learn about you?
Well, Mark, I know you already know this about me, but I've done accounts since the pandemic started, and I have 44 houseplants. I think last time we spoke, actually, it was 43, but
Wow,
I
you're
forgot
ahead
that
of
I've
me.
been propagating. That became like the new hobby of 2020. So it's 44 houseplants.
Excellent. That is awesome. And they're all still living and thriving.
Not completely. I also have a cat, so houseplants
Mm.
and cats don't always go together. One is currently potentially on its way out. Another has been significantly sued, but we're trying.
Well, we'll send good juju for that plant to make it back. So, one of the things that I think has been important over this uh, the past year and a half is being able to detach and get off the grid, so to speak. So, where would your ideal off the grid location be?
Yep. I live in Kentucky now, and I very much miss the water. I grew up in the Philadelphia region, and we used to go to both Delaware and Cape Henlopen State Park. And I miss that so much. So I think my off the grid location would definitely be somewhere away from the crowds on Cape Henlopen Beach, looking at the water, the dunes, uh, no kids, which would be super novel way to spend time at the beach, maybe a good book. Uh,
An adult beverage of choice if necessary.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, just final question. Hey, if someone wants to learn more about Challenger or just want to have just a one-on-one conversation with you, Amy, where should they start?
Yeah, I am more than happy to chat with anyone. My email address is amy.smith, and that's AMY, at challengerinc.com. Um, if you're not quite ready for a conversation, you can definitely take a look at our website, which is challengerinc.com. We do both sales organization training and customer service organization training, so you can find both areas on the website and filter for customers.
Excellent. Well, Amy, thank you once again. I will have on its way to you as a token of my appreciation a coffee talk with Brohawk mug. Um, and I will get that out to you here over the weekend. And I really do appreciate the time that you spent with me today, and look forward to more conversations in the future.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, thanks a lot.
Have
Have
a
a
great
great rest of
weekend.
the day.
Yep.